The discovery. The Zerethian Empire was known across the galaxy as conquerors. They expanded their borders with precision, crushing weaker civilizations and absorbing their technology. Their fleet was unmatched, their soldiers feared, and their scientists brilliant. But even the great Zerethians were not prepared for what they found when they intercepted a strange energy signal from an uncharted part of the galaxy. Commander Vekor stood on the bridge of the Vorek, the flagship of the Zerethian fleet. His dark eyes scanned the holographic display of the mysterious planet. Its surface shimmered with blue oceans and green landmasses, but what truly caught his attention were the energy readings. The planet was radiating power unlike anything the Zerethians had ever seen. "Report," Vekor demanded, his deep voice calm but firm. One of the analysts, a younger officer named Rivik, turned from his console. "Commander, the energy levels are extraordinary. At first, we thought it was natural, geothermal activity, or perhaps a star reactor. But this," he pointed to the readings on his screen, "this is artificial. Someone is creating this energy, and it's being used for manufacturing." Vekor raised an eyebrow. "Manufacturing what?" Rivik hesitated. "We can't tell for certain. But the materials, they are forged metals. Weapons, Commander. Massive amounts of weapons." The bridge fell silent. The Zerethians had scanned countless worlds, from barren wastelands to bustling civilizations. They had seen warlike planets, peaceful ones, and everything in between. But this was different. The scale of the production was overwhelming. Vekor turned to his second-in-command, Commander Threx. "What do we know about the inhabitants?" Threx checked his console. "Minimal data so far. It appears to be a Class M planet, perfect for supporting life. But there's no indication of a large active population. Either the life forms are extremely primitive, or—" He trailed off, his voice heavy with unease. "Or what?" Vekor pressed. Threx glanced at him, his expression grim. "Or the inhabitants are hiding, possibly underground. This level of manufacturing suggests advanced intelligence, yet we're not detecting cities or transport systems. It doesn't make sense." Vekor stared at the hologram of the planet. A primitive world couldn't produce weapons on this scale. And yet, where was the civilization responsible for it? Why was the planet so quiet? "Send out a probe," he ordered. "I want eyes on the surface." Within moments, a sleek Zerethian probe shot toward the mysterious planet. Its sensors would scan for life, technology, and any threats. The bridge crew watched the feed as the probe entered the planet's atmosphere. At first, everything seemed normal. The probe flew over vast oceans and dense forests. But then it approached a massive, barren plain. The land was scorched, the air thick with heat, and in the center of it all stood a colossal structure, a forge. Its towers belched smoke into the sky, and its walls glowed red with heat. "Magnify the image," Vekor ordered. The display zoomed in, revealing rows upon rows of machinery. Conveyor belts carried glowing metal slabs into massive furnaces. Robotic arms hammered and shaped the metal with precision. But there were no workers. The entire operation was automated, running with flawless efficiency. This is impossible," Rivik muttered. "The amount of power required to run this forge, it's beyond anything we've encountered." Vekor felt a chill run through him. "Scan the forge for signs of life." Rivik tapped on his console. "No organic life detected, Commander. The forge appears to be completely autonomous." "Expand the scan," Vekor said. "Are there more forges like this?" The probe's sensors swept across the planet. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the feed revealed forge after forge, each as massive and active as the first. They dotted the planet's surface, some hidden in mountains, others buried beneath deserts. Together, they formed a network of unparalleled manufacturing power. Vekor leaned forward in his seat. "What are they making?" Rivik enhanced the feed, focusing on one of the conveyor belts. The crew gasped as they saw the finished products rolling off the line. Rifles, cannons, and starship components, all gleaming with deadly precision. "This isn't just a factory," Vekor said, his voice low. "This is a weapon forge, a planet dedicated entirely to creating tools of war." Threx frowned. "But for whom? If the planet is abandoned, who are the weapons for?" Vekor didn't answer. His mind raced with possibilities. Was this a relic of a long-dead civilization? Or worse, was it a trap set by a hidden enemy? The Zerathian Empire had faced many threats, but this was something new, something dangerous. "Commander," Rivik said, his voice trembling, "we've picked up another signal. It's coming from deep within the planet's core." Vekor's eyes narrowed. "What kind of signal?" "It's a warning," Rivik said. "It's telling us to leave." The bridge fell silent once more. Vekor's hands tightened into fists. The Zerathians had never backed down from a challenge, but this planet was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The energy, the weapons, the warning, it all pointed to one thing. Earth was not an ordinary world. It was a fortress, and whoever had built it was far more dangerous than the Zerathians had ever imagined. The silent planet. The Zerathian probe hovered silently over Earth's surface, its advanced sensors drinking in every detail. Commander Vekor stood motionless on the bridge, his eyes locked on the holographic feed. The forge network alone was troubling enough, but what they discovered next was deeply unsettling. "Commander," Rivik called out, his voice unsteady. "I've completed the scans of the surrounding areas. The cities, they're empty." Vekor frowned. "Empty? What do you mean?" Rivik enlarged the probe's view, revealing a sprawling metropolis. Skyscrapers pierced the sky, streets crisscrossed the city, and vehicles were parked as if their owners had left only moments ago. But there was no movement, no life, not even the faintest hint of biological signatures. "The structures are intact," Rivik continued, "but there's no sign of habitation. It's as if everyone vanished." Vekor leaned closer to the display. The city seemed frozen in time. Flower pots sat undisturbed on balconies. Public screens flickered faintly with static. The infrastructure appeared pristine, yet lifeless. "Scan for remains," Vekor ordered. "I want to know if this was a natural extinction or something else." The probe's sensors swept through the city's streets and buildings. After several tense moments, Rivik reported, "No remains detected, Commander. No bodies, no bones, nothing. It's like the inhabitants simply disappeared." Vekor exchanged a grim look with Threx. A planet this advanced doesn't simply go silent. Something happened here. As the probe ventured deeper into the city, it encountered strange phenomena. Power grids still functioned, supplying energy to dormant systems. Automated drones flitted through the air, maintaining infrastructure with robotic precision. They seemed harmless at first, but when the probe lingered too long in one area, the drones converged on it, scanning it aggressively. "Pull the probe back," Vekor commanded. "We don't want to trigger an attack." The feed shifted as the probe retreated, but not before capturing a haunting image. A massive monument standing in the city's central square. It was a towering obelisk etched with intricate designs and symbols that resembled both art and language. At its base, a single line of text glowed faintly in a language the Zerathians couldn't immediately decode. "What does it say?" Vekor asked. Rivik worked quickly to translate. When he read the words aloud, the bridge fell into an uneasy silence. "It says, 'We are not gone. We are watching.'" Vekor felt a cold chill crawl down his spine. The silence of the planet was no longer mysterious. It was menacing. Every detail seemed deliberate, as if the emptiness was a calculated message. "Commander," Threx began hesitantly, "could this be a trap? A way to lure us in?" Vekor considered the possibility. The Zerathians were masters of conquest, but even they understood the power of psychological warfare. If humanity, or whatever had once lived here, wanted to intimidate them. They were succeeding. Perhaps, Vekor said, his voice measured. But we need more information. If this is a threat, we must understand it. If it's a resource, we must claim it. The probe shifted its course, leaving the city behind and heading toward another forge. This one was smaller than the first, nestled within a mountain range. As the probe approached, its sensors detected something unusual, a faint biological signature. Life form detected. Rivik exclaimed. It's human. Vekor straightened. Where? Inside the forge, Rivik replied. But the readings are faint. It could be injured or dormant. Vekor's mind raced. The presence of a human, or even a remnant of one, could provide invaluable answers. Can we establish communication? Rivik shook his head. The signal is too weak. We'd need to send a team to investigate directly. Frex looked uneasy. Commander, this could be the trap. A lone survivor, conveniently placed to lure us into the heart of the forge. It's too perfect. Vekor didn't disagree, but his curiosity outweighed his caution. Prepare an exploration team. I want answers. As the exploration shuttle descended toward the forge, the atmosphere grew heavier with tension. Vekor and the bridge crew monitored its progress closely. The team entered the forge through a massive, automated gate, which slid open as if anticipating their arrival. Inside, the air was thick with heat and the hum of machinery. Towering assembly lines stretched into the distance, producing sleek, deadly weapons. The walls were lined with glowing conduits that pulsed rhythmically, like the veins of a living creature. The team's leader, a seasoned Zarethian soldier named Korvik, reported back. Commander, we've located the biological source. The feed from the shuttle's cameras showed a human figure lying in a glass chamber. The figure appeared to be in stasis, its features serene and unchanging. Is it alive? Vekor asked. Yes, Korvik replied. But its vital signs are weak. It appears to be preserved. Rivik analyzed the data from his console. Commander, the stasis field is ancient, but highly advanced. This individual has been here for centuries, possibly longer. Vekor's mind whirled. Who was this human? A leader? A soldier? Or something more dangerous? Retrieve the chamber, Vekor ordered. We'll study it on the ship. As the team prepared to extract the stasis chamber, the forge suddenly sprang to life. Alarms blared and machinery shifted. Massive robotic sentinels emerged from the shadows, their glowing eyes locked onto the Zarethian team. Commander, Korvik shouted over the comms. We've been detected. The forge is activating its defenses. Vekor clenched his fists. Evacuate immediately. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. The feed became chaotic as the team fought their way back to the shuttle, the sentinels in relentless pursuit. They managed to escape with the stasis chamber, but the forge's defenses followed them into the skies. On the bridge, Vekor watched as the shuttle raced toward the Vorak, trailed by a swarm of drones. His voice cut through the tension. Prepare the fleet for combat. This planet isn't just silent. It's alive, and it doesn't want us here. The human shadow. The atmosphere aboard the Vorak was thick with tension. Commander Vekor stood at the center of the bridge, his gaze fixed on the stasis chamber now secured in the ship's containment bay. The figure inside, the lone human they had discovered on the silent planet, remained in its eerie, ageless slumber. Status on the chamber, Vekor asked, his voice cutting through the uneasy quiet. Rivik, his analyst, glanced up from his console. The chamber is emitting an energy field we can't fully decipher. It's ancient but highly advanced. Any attempt to tamper with it might destabilize the stasis. Vekor nodded. Leave it intact. We'll analyze it further once we understand what we're dealing with. Meanwhile, the probe continued its mission, venturing into the planet's subterranean depths. Its sensors revealed an elaborate network of tunnels and vast underground chambers. These spaces weren't natural. They were carved with precision, as if by some colossal machine. The deeper the probe went, the more troubling the readings became. "Commander," Rivik called out, "the underground network. It's even larger than we anticipated. It stretches beneath nearly every major forge and city. It's not just a planet. It's a singular, interconnected system." Vekor's brow furrowed. "What's its purpose?" Rivik hesitated before answering. "The energy flows suggest it's more than just manufacturing. It's storing data, massive amounts of data. But there's something else." "What?" Vekor demanded. Rivik swallowed hard. "It's monitoring us." The probe's cameras transmitted a chilling sight, a massive control room deep beneath the surface. The walls were lined with screens displaying real-time footage of the Vorak and its fleet in orbit. More disturbing, some screens showed archived footage of the Zerathian Empire, its conquests, its victories, and even classified moments that no outsider should have access to. Vekor's fists clenched. "They've been watching us." Rivik nodded grimly. "For a long time, Commander. Decades, maybe centuries. Whoever built this planet knew about us long before we knew about them." Suddenly, the probe's feed flickered. A voice, calm, human, and unmistakably alive, spoke through the static. "Why are you here?" The bridge crew froze. Vekor's gaze snapped to Rivik. "Is that a live transmission?" Rivik shook his head. "It's coming from the underground network itself. The planet is speaking to us." Vekor stepped forward. "Open a channel." "I want to respond." Rivik hesitated but complied. Vekor spoke with measured authority. "This is Commander Vekor of the Zerathian fleet. We come in search of knowledge." "Who are you?" The voice replied without hesitation. "You are not ready for knowledge. Leave this place, Commander Vekor, or suffer the consequences." The transmission ended abruptly, and the probe's feed went dark. Moments later, alarms blared across the Vorak. Rivik's console lit up with warnings. "Commander, we've lost contact with the probe. And something's moving beneath the surface. Massive energy signatures, multiple points." "Show me," Vekor ordered. The holographic display revealed seismic activity across the planet. Large, mechanical constructs were rising from the underground chambers. They were humanoid in shape, but impossibly large, their metallic bodies radiating the same strange energy that powered the forges. "Defensive constructs," Threx said, his voice grim. "The planet is activating its guardians." Vekor stared at the display, his mind racing. The Zerathians had faced countless planetary defenses, but this was different. The constructs weren't just machines. They were intelligent, adaptive, and clearly designed to counter intruders like them. In the containment bay, the stasis chamber began to react. Its energy field pulsed rhythmically, and faint lights flickered around the edges. The human inside remained still, but their presence felt less dormant, like an ancient predator slowly awakening. Rivik's voice crackled through the comms. "Commander, the chamber's energy levels are rising. I think it's responding to the planet's activity." Vekor made a decision. Prepare for emergency extraction. If the planet launches an attack, we need to retreat. Threx frowned. "And the chamber? Do we risk bringing it with us?" Vekor's eyes hardened. "Yes. Whatever secrets it holds are worth the risk. But we won't leave unprepared. Ready the fleet. If this planet wants a fight, we'll give it one." As the fleet powered up its defenses, Vekor felt the weight of his choices. This was no ordinary mission. The silence of Earth wasn't natural. It was intentional. The weapons, the empty cities, the cryptic warnings, they were all pieces of a larger puzzle. And at the center of it was humanity, or what remained of it. The words on the monument echoed in his mind. "We are not gone. We are watching." Vekor knew one thing for certain. Whatever humanity had become, they were not the victims of some long-forgotten war. They were something more dangerous, more calculating. They were the architects of this silent, deadly planet, and they were far from finished. The truth of the Forge. The Zarathian fleet hovered in low orbit, a ring of shadowed warships against Earth's cold, quiet atmosphere. The planet, once seemingly inert, was now alive with activity. Massive constructs moved across the surface, their towering forms bristling with weapons that seemed to grow organically from their metallic frames. Commander Vekor's expression remained stoic as he watched the chaos unfold on the holographic display. The planet's defenses were not simply activating, they were adapting. The weapons being produced in the forges were now tailored to counter Zarathian technology. Rifles capable of overloading energy shields, drones outfitted with countermeasures for cloaked ships, and artillery with ranges rivaling orbital cannons. "Commander," Frex said, his voice sharp with tension, "the constructs are coordinating their movements. They're not just machines, they're an army." Vekor nodded, his mind calculating. "And we are the invaders." In the containment bay, the stasis chamber's energy field pulsed more violently now. The human inside showed no signs of waking, but the chamber itself seemed aware. Scientists scrambled to analyze the readings, but the data defied their understanding. Rivik's voice crackled over the comms. "Commander, I've discovered something. Anomalous data buried in the chamber's energy signature. It's emitting a signal." Vekor frowned. "To where?" Rivik hesitated. "Not where, Commander. To what? It's synchronizing with the planet's forges." The revelation hit Vekor like a thunderbolt. The chamber wasn't just a relic, it was a key, a link to the planet's systems, perhaps even its ultimate purpose. Vekor turned to Threx. "Bring the chamber to the bridge. If it's communicating with the planet, we need to understand how." Minutes later, the chamber was carefully transported to the bridge, its pulsing energy field casting eerie shadows across the room. Vekor studied it closely, his instincts warning him that he was standing on the edge of a precipice. "Begin a controlled interface," he ordered. "I want to know what this thing is saying." Rivik worked quickly, connecting the ship's systems to the chamber's output. The bridge lights dimmed as the feed from the chamber overtook the main display. At first, it showed only static, but soon images began to coalesce. Blueprints of weapons, schematics of starships, and maps of galaxies. Vekor's eyes narrowed. "These are plans." Rivik nodded. "Plans for war, Commander. Not just defense. This forge is preparing for an offensive campaign." Suddenly, the display shifted again. The blueprints vanished, replaced by a humanoid figure. It wasn't the human in the chamber, but a projection, an avatar. The figure was clad in sleek armor, its face obscured by a mask. Its voice, when it spoke, was calm and deliberate. "You have trespassed where you do not belong." Vekor stepped forward, addressing the figure directly. "Who are you?" The avatar tilted its head slightly, as if considering the question. "I am the Sentinel. I speak for the Forge." Threx bristled. "You mean the planet?" The Sentinel's voice grew sharper. "The Forge is not merely a planet. It is the culmination of humanity's will. A weapon, a fortress, a warning." Vekor's eyes narrowed. "A warning for whom?" The Sentinel paused, as though weighing its answer. "For those who think themselves untouchable. For those who conquer and subjugate. For those who forget that humanity endures." The words hung heavy in the air. Vekor had faced many enemies, but this was something different. The Sentinel wasn't gloating or threatening, it was stating a fact. Earth was not just a world, it was a declaration of intent. "Humanity is gone," Vekor said, probing for more information. "We've seen no trace of them. Are you their remnant?" The Sentinel's image flickered. "Gone? No, humanity has evolved. They no longer walk this world, but their influence remains. The Forge is their legacy, a beacon and a barrier." Rivik leaned closer to his console, whispering to Vekor. "Commander, the Sentinel isn't just a projection. It's an interface for the planet itself. The Forge is speaking through it." Vekor nodded, then addressed the Sentinel again. "What is the purpose of the weapons?" Why build them in such numbers? The Sentinel's voice grew colder. Because war is inevitable. The galaxy thrives on conflict. Humanity learned this truth and prepared accordingly. These weapons are not for conquest. They are for balance. Vekor's patience wore thin. Balance, by creating enough firepower to annihilate entire civilizations. The Sentinel's gaze seemed to pierce him. Annihilation is the cost of peace when empires like yours exist. The bridge fell silent, the weight of the Sentinel's words sinking in. Vekor realized they weren't just dealing with a planet or a forge. They were facing the unyielding will of a species that had risen, fought, and decided to become something greater. Before Vekor could respond, the chamber in the center of the room pulsed violently. The Sentinel's image flickered, its voice suddenly tinged with urgency. You should not have taken the key. Rivik's console erupted with warnings. Commander, the forges are reacting. The constructs are converging on our position. They're targeting the fleet. Vekor barked orders. Activate full defensive measures. Prepare the fleet for an orbital retreat. But as the crew scrambled, the Sentinel spoke one final time. Remember this, Commander Vekor. Humanity may be silent, but the Forge speaks for us. Leave now, or be reforged into ash. A hologram vanished, and the chamber went dark. Outside the ship, the planet's surface erupted with activity. Massive artillery platforms emerged from hidden silos, and swarms of autonomous drones launched into the skies. Vekor's jaw tightened. The Forge wasn't just a defense mechanism, it was a warning. And the Zerathians had ignored it. Humanity's hidden plan. The Zerathian fleet had faced countless enemies, but nothing compared to the spectacle unfolding around Earth. Swarms of autonomous drones filled the skies, weaving complex formations that disrupted the fleet's sensor systems. From the surface, colossal artillery platforms fired beams of energy that bent space itself, tearing through the shields of smaller Zerathian ships. Commander Vekor stood on the bridge of the Vorak, his calm demeanor masking the storm of thoughts raging in his mind. He had underestimated this planet, and now his fleet was paying the price. Status report. Vekor barked. Threx responded immediately. We've lost 3 ships in the outer formation. The drones are coordinating with ground-based artillery. They're targeting our engines. Vekor clenched his fists. The fleet's superior firepower meant nothing if the enemy could outthink them. And this planet, this forge, wasn't just defending itself, it was learning. Rivik worked furiously at his console, analyzing the data streaming in from the skirmish. Commander, the forges are producing new weapons in real time. They're adapting to our countermeasures faster than we can deploy them. Vekor's eyes narrowed. What about the chamber? Is it connected to this escalation? Rivik hesitated. It's possible. The chamber's energy signature is fluctuating. It's almost as if it's relaying commands. Vekor turned to Threx. We need to understand what's driving this forge. If the chamber is the key, we'll use it. Prepare an extraction team. We're going back to the surface. The Vorak launched a reinforced shuttle, carrying Vekor, Threx, Rivik, and a squad of elite soldiers. Their destination, the forge that had produced the largest volume of weaponry. The shuttle descended into Earth's atmosphere, dodging drones and automated defenses with razor-thin precision. As they approached the forge, Vekor couldn't help but marvel at its scale. The structure stretched for miles, its glowing towers humming with energy. Rivers of molten metal flowed into massive furnaces, feeding an endless cycle of production. Land near the central facility, Vekor ordered. We need to find the control nexus. The shuttle touched down in a scorched clearing, and the team disembarked, weapons drawn. The air was thick with heat and the faint metallic tang of machinery. The ground beneath their feet trembled slightly, as if the forge itself were alive. Inside the forge, the team moved cautiously through cavernous halls lined with conveyor belts and towering assembly lines. Robotic arms worked with mechanical precision, crafting weapons that shimmered with a strange, otherworldly energy. Rivik studied the surroundings in awe. This isn't just advanced. It's intentional. Every design, every process. It's like the forge knows exactly what it's doing. Vekor nodded. Because it does. Stay alert. The deeper they ventured, the more ominous the atmosphere became. The machinery seemed to react to their presence, the rhythmic hum of production shifting in tone. It was as if the forge was watching them. They reached the central facility, a massive chamber with a glowing, spherical core suspended in the center. Streams of energy flowed into the core from all directions, pulsating like the heartbeat of a living organism. Surrounding it were holographic displays, each showing fragments of human history. Vekor approached the displays cautiously. Images of battles, cities, and technological breakthroughs flickered across the screens. But there were also images of humanity's greatest failures, wars that left planets uninhabitable, betrayals that shattered alliances, and sacrifices that left scars across their species. "Commander," Rivik whispered, his voice tinged with awe. "This isn't just a forge, it's an archive." Vekor's gaze hardened. An archive of what? Rivik pointed to a series of overlapping symbols on one of the displays. Humanity's plan. They knew they couldn't fight every war themselves, so they built this, a machine that could adapt, learn, and protect their legacy. Suddenly, the spherical core pulsed, and the Sentinel appeared once again. Its holographic form towered over the team, its voice reverberating through the chamber. "You should not have returned." Vekor stepped forward, unflinching. "We came for answers. Tell me, what happened to humanity? Why leave this forge behind?" The Sentinel's gaze swept over the team, as if considering their worth. Humanity did not leave. They ascended. They realized that to endure the chaos of the galaxy, they had to become more than flesh and bone. Rivik's eyes widened. "Ascended? You mean they evolved?" The Sentinel nodded. "They shed their physical forms and became part of the Forge's network. Their knowledge, their will, their essence, it all resides here." Vekor's mind raced. "So you're saying humanity didn't vanish? They became this forge." The Sentinel's voice grew colder. "Correct. And their will remains clear. Protect the forge. Defend humanity's legacy. Punish intruders." Vekor met the Sentinel's gaze, his voice steady. "We didn't come to destroy your legacy. We came to understand it." The Sentinel's image flickered, its expression unreadable. "Understanding is not enough. You must choose. Leave now and live, or stay and face annihilation." Vekor's instincts screamed at him to retreat, but he couldn't ignore the truth he had uncovered. This forge wasn't just a defense system. It was humanity's answer to a galaxy that thrived on conflict. A silent, calculating force designed to ensure their survival, even in their absence. As the Sentinel waited for his decision, Vekor realized the gravity of his situation. To leave would be to admit defeat. To stay would mean risking everything. He took a deep breath and issued his order. "Prepare for extraction. We're leaving." As the team retreated to the shuttle, Vekor glanced back at the glowing core. The forge had shown him humanity's hidden plan, a plan that ensured they would never be truly defeated. And as the shuttle ascended into orbit, he couldn't shake the feeling that the forge wasn't done with him yet. The forge awakens. The Vorak hung in the fragile stillness of orbit, its sleek hull reflecting the dim glow of Earth below. On the bridge, Commander Vekor stared out at the planet, its surface alive with the activity of countless machines. The forge was not just defending itself, it was escalating. Humanity's silent creation was preparing for total war. "Commander, the forge's constructs are mobilizing," Frex said, his voice edged with urgency. "We're detecting energy spikes across the planet. Ground-based cannons are locking onto the fleet." Vekor turned sharply to Rivik. "What's the status of the chamber? Did we bring back anything useful?" Rivik hesitated, sweat beading on his brow. "The chamber is," reacting to our systems, Commander. It's accessing our databases. I've locked it out, but it's clearly trying to interface with the ship. Vekor clenched his jaw. The chamber wasn't just a relic. It was a tool, a weapon that humanity had left behind for a purpose they had yet to uncover. Suddenly, the ship's lights dimmed, and the bridge was bathed in the cold, pale glow of emergency lighting. The Sentinel's voice echoed through the comms, its tone devoid of emotion, but heavy with authority. You were warned, Commander Vekor. The Forge tolerates no thieves. The holographic displays flickered, and the Sentinel's image appeared at the center of the bridge. Its presence was no longer a simple projection. It dominated the space, its form towering over the crew. Vekor stepped forward, his voice steady. We came for knowledge, not conquest. Your weapons, your machines, they are a threat to the galaxy. We had to understand them. The Sentinel's gaze bore into him. Your empire thrives on domination. You would twist the Forge into a tool of oppression. That cannot be allowed. The ship shuddered violently as the Forge unleashed its fury. Beams of energy surged from the planet's surface, slicing through the shields of the Zerathian fleet. Ships exploded in bursts of fire and debris, their remains scattering into the void. Commander, Threx shouted, we're losing ships fast. The fleet can't hold this position. Vekor gritted his teeth. The Forge's strategy was clear. It wasn't just attacking the fleet. It was dismantling it piece by piece, adapting with every moment. Pull back to high orbit, Vekor ordered. Focus all firepower on the largest constructs. We need to disrupt their coordination. As the fleet repositioned, Vekor turned his attention back to the Sentinel. If humanity has truly ascended, why leave a weapon like this behind? What purpose does it serve now? The Sentinel's expression remained unreadable. Humanity learned the truth of the galaxy. Power ensures survival. The Forge is not merely a weapon. It is a deterrent, a warning to all who would seek to conquer. Vekor's mind raced. The Forge wasn't just defending itself. It was sending a message. To every empire, every species, it declared that humanity had not been defeated. They had transcended, leaving behind a legacy of resilience and strength. In the containment bay, the chamber pulsed violently. Scientists scrambled to stabilize its energy field, but their efforts were in vain. The chamber cracked open with a deafening hiss, releasing a wave of energy that surged through the ship. The human inside, the preserved remnant of Earth's past, awakened. The figures sat up slowly, their movements deliberate, their eyes glowing faintly with the same energy that powered the Forge. Vekor's comms crackled as a new voice, calm and commanding, spoke directly to him. You have taken something that was not yours. Vekor's heart pounded. Who are you? The figure's voice echoed through the comms, amplified by the ship's systems. I am the Keeper, the last guardian of humanity's legacy. You have awakened me, and now you will face the consequences. On the bridge, Rivik's console erupted with warnings. Commander, the Keeper is accessing our systems. It's overriding our controls. The ship lurched as its weapon systems turned inward, targeting the fleet. Vekor realized the gravity of the situation. The Keeper wasn't just a relic. It was the embodiment of humanity's will, and it had seized control. Shut it down, Vekor shouted. Rivik worked frantically, but his efforts were futile. I can't. It's using our own systems against us. Vekor made a decision. Eject the chamber. If it's the Keeper's link to the Forge, we need to sever it. In the containment bay, the Keeper stood, unyielding, as soldiers surrounded it. Vekor's voice came through the comms. You've made your point. We cannot fight what we don't understand. Let us go, and we will leave the Forge in peace. The Keeper tilted its head slightly, its glowing eyes fixed on the soldiers. You misunderstand. Humanity does not seek peace. It seeks balance. If your empire threatens that balance, you cannot be allowed to leave. Vekor's voice hardened. Then what is your price? The keeper paused, its expression unreadable. Leave the forge. Leave the chamber. Carry this message to your empire. Humanity is not gone. It watches, and it will never be unarmed. Reluctantly, Vekor gave the order. The chamber was ejected, its glowing form descending back toward Earth's surface. The keeper stepped into the airlock, its voice resonating one final time. Remember this day, Commander. Humanity endures not through mercy, but through strength. As the keeper vanished into the void, the forge's constructs ceased their assault. The drones returned to their formations, and the artillery fell silent. Vekor's fleet, battered and humbled, retreated into the darkness of space. On the bridge, Vekor stood in silence, watching as Earth grew smaller in the view screen. He had faced countless foes, but none like this. Humanity's legacy was not one of conquest, but of unyielding determination. The forge, silent and unrelenting, stood as a testament to their will. As the fleet disappeared into the vastness of the galaxy, Vekor knew one thing for certain. The forge was not a relic to be conquered. It was a warning. And humanity, though silent, was far from forgotten. Humanity's warning. The Zerathian fleet limped through the cold expanse of space, battered but alive. Silence reigned on the bridge of the Vorak, broken only by the hum of damaged systems. Commander Vekor sat in his command chair, his gaze fixed on the distant stars. Behind him, the crew moved with quiet efficiency, repairing the scars of their failed mission. The silence wasn't born of defeat, it was the weight of what they had encountered. Earth, the forge, the keeper, each a piece of a puzzle that defied everything the Zerathians thought they understood about power and survival. "Commander," Threx said, stepping forward. His voice was subdued, almost reverent. "We've cleared Earth's gravitational pull. The fleet is regrouping in neutral space." Vekor nodded slowly. "Good. What's the status of our losses?" Threx hesitated. 17 ships destroyed. 36 heavily damaged, casualties in the thousands. Vekor's jaw tightened. The forge had been ruthless in its defense, yet Vekor couldn't shake the feeling that it had shown restraint. The keeper had let them leave, not out of mercy, but to ensure they carried its message. Rivik entered the bridge, clutching a data tablet. "Commander, I've analyzed the last transmission from the keeper. It's more than just a warning." Vekor raised an eyebrow. "Explain." Rivik placed the tablet on the command console, displaying fragments of code and holographic images. "The keeper didn't just speak to us. It embedded data into our systems before we ejected the chamber. It's a directive, encoded with what seems to be coordinates." Vekor leaned forward. "Coordinates? To what?" Rivik hesitated. "Another forge." The revelation sent a ripple of unease through the crew. Vekor's mind raced. If Earth was only one forge, how many others existed? And what purpose did they serve? Before Vekor could respond, the holographic displays on the bridge flickered to life. The Sentinel appeared once again, its presence as imposing as ever. The crew froze, their eyes fixed on the figure that had orchestrated their near destruction. "You carry the Keeper's message," the Sentinel said, its voice calm but commanding. "Now you must deliver it." Vekor stood, his voice steady. "To whom?" The Sentinel's gaze seemed to pierce him. "To your empire, to every empire. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them what you have learned." Vekor clenched his fists. "And what is it you want them to know?" The Sentinel's image flickered, and for the first time, it seemed almost human. Humanity is not gone. It is not defeated. It is not prey. The holographic displays shifted, showing Earth in all its silent glory. The Sentinel continued, its voice resonating with a warning that chilled Vekor to his core. "Let this be your lesson. Power without purpose is chaos. Ambition without restraint is destruction. Humanity learned this truth through fire and blood. And now, the Forge speaks for us." The displays returned to normal, and the sentinel vanished. Vekor sat back in his chair, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The Keeper's message wasn't just a warning. It was a challenge. Humanity had left behind a legacy of strength and defiance, a reminder that even in silence, they were never truly gone. Weeks later, the fleet returned to Zerathian space. The High Council, a gathering of the Empire's most powerful leaders, demanded an explanation for Vekor's failure. In the grand chamber of the council hall, Vekor stood before them, his expression unreadable. "Commander Vekor," one of the counselors said, his voice laced with disdain, "you were tasked with seizing a valuable resource. Instead, you returned with fewer ships and no spoils. Explain yourself." Vekor stepped forward, his voice steady but charged with conviction. "We did not encounter a resource. We encountered a force, a legacy that defies our understanding." He recounted the events on Earth, the Forge, the Keeper, and the Sentinel. The counselors listened in stunned silence, their expressions shifting from disbelief to unease. When Vekor finished, one counselor scoffed. "You mean to tell us that humanity, a species thought to be extinct, left behind a planet of machines and weapons, a fortress capable of defeating the Zerathian fleet?" Vekor met the counselor's gaze. "Not just a fortress. A declaration. Humanity's forge is a testament to their will. It exists not to conquer, but to remind us of their strength." Another counselor leaned forward. "And what message did this forge leave for us?" Vekor's voice dropped, heavy with the weight of his words. "That humanity is watching, that they are never unarmed, and that those who threaten their legacy will face the full force of the forge." The council chamber fell into a tense silence. Vekor stood tall, unyielding, as the leaders of the Empire wrestled with the implications of his report. The Zerathians, masters of conquest, had been humbled, not by a living enemy, but by the shadow of a species that refused to be forgotten. As Vekor left the chamber, he felt the weight of the Keeper's message pressing on him. The forge was more than a weapon. It was a symbol, and its warning was clear. The galaxy thrived on conflict, but humanity had learned to endure. They had ascended, leaving behind a legacy that would outlast even the greatest empires. And if the Zerathians, or anyone else, dared to challenge that legacy, they would find themselves reforged in the fires of the forge. Back aboard the Vorak, Vekor stared out at the stars, a faint glimmer of respect in his eyes. Humanity's silence was not weakness, it was strength, and their legacy, carried by the forge, would echo through the galaxy for generations to come.